Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a fair question, of course, because people, when Baba said that he would break his silence, and then there were so many amazing things that would happen. Naturally, everybody would like to know more about that. Well, when, in my opinion, the only breaking of the silence that will really matter is when you experience the infinite self that you are. The what's latent within each person is the God state of consciousness. And Baba was very clear in saying that he came down from the highest level to our level in order to bring us up to his level. So it means that it's latent within us what the level of the highest of the high is. And that highest of the high is an experience of yourself as eternal, the eternal bliss, the knowledge of everything, the power that you would be able to have. And of course, it's not done in the body state, because in the physical body, we have extreme limitations. We can't do everything that we want, and even the mind doesn't understand even what everything is that you do want. But the thing is, I'll just quote you something that he did say. When the word of my love breaks out of its silence to speak in your hearts, telling you who I really am, then you will know that that is the word you have always been longing to hear. Now, that certainly is much deeper and more meaningful than just him giving a talk or some kind of a speech or something as a breaking of the silence. The silence was never intended to be, in my opinion, a verbal silence. It was a silence that we all experience, not knowing the truth about our own unlimited nature and our own infinite being that we are. But he comes as the avatar to reveal that, so as to clear the obstacles that prevent that kind of experience from occurring. So the silence of Baba, when he would say, and sometimes he would even give a date or a place where he's going to break his silence. And then later he would say, if you really thought that I was going to tell you where and when, then you didn't understand the meaning of my silence. So there are many different things that he explained about what would also happen at the time of the silence manifestation. Did you get that book, The Silent Master? Did you see it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. In there, you'll see that there's a section where where many of the things that he said about his silence and the breaking of it, you'll be able to read it yourself. Many statements that he gave. And when I compiled that book, I got the statements from many different places at different times that he and put it together in one place. So that will be very helpful to you if you want to know what the breaking of the silence is, when he will break it, how he will break it, what will happen when he breaks it. All of that is in there, and it's in his own words. So it's better to read the words of Baba than to hear anybody else's interpretation of it. Who is that that's come in?
Okay, this is Kelly, you met the other night, and here's Matt, her husband.
Oh, hi. Yeah, you just managed to get outside the picture. Look, get into the picture. And I can see everybody then. Hi. There. You see, I can wave also. All right.
Everybody's okay?
But the question that you asked, it's a fair question, of course. Everybody wants to know. I wanted to know that in the beginning too, when I heard about Baba being silent. I mean, I think that's an amazing thing for anybody to be silent for all his life, really. he was silent for 44 years, and up until the time he left his physical body. And one of the things that Baba impressed upon us when he would say that I am not this body that you see. Don't mix me up with the body. You have to see me as I really am. So I thought, good, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want to see him as he really is. Now he has to show me this. When Baba explained that he came to enlighten us, to give us the experience of the God state, you can't even imagine what that is. Because when he would talk about his own experience, he would say, I'm in everything, everywhere. I know everything. I am beyond the mind. The mind is just a creation of the imagination that I make. And you're all living in a dream, but you don't know it. You think you're awake. But when you wake up in the real sense, then you'll see that it was all just a passing dream and that it wasn't real. So he would say, God alone is real. All else is just illusion. And who is God? God is your own inner self. It's your own self, unlimited, not limited, but unlimited. So in the limited state that we're conscious of, which is the world around us and the five senses of our body, in that limitation, you don't feel that you're unlimited. And you know very well that you're not. So, but that's not the goal. The goal is that you do and will come into the possession of your complete self. That's the way I put it, because we're not experiencing ourselves in its completeness by any means. Otherwise, you'd see how unlimited you are. That's what the avatar comes to do, because he knows we can't do it. If you could have done it, you would have done it already. What would you stop you? What would have stopped you? But the thing is, we don't know how to clear all of the mental impressions that we acquired throughout the ages, going from one lifetime to another, going through all this evolution. It's a very long period of time. So, but never mind. It's a long period of time. You're here now. The now is what counts, and advancing into the higher realms of where you can actually experience the fullness of your being is a state of intense happiness. Person doesn't know what happiness hardly is. We have moments of pleasure, but it doesn't last. Anyhow, the bliss that he speaks of is everlasting. It doesn't go away once it comes. The experience of God is permanent. It's not a passing thing. Everything else in your life will pass, but that doesn't pass. Even our bodies, they're very perishable. How long does anyone live? You know, you don't live that long. So it requires a series of lives in order to gather all the understanding and experience, and you have to learn all that there is. You can't do it in one lifetime. Bodies don't last that long, but nevertheless, that is the system that has been developed long ago, ages ago, where you go from one when one body no longer can operate, you transit to another one that's fresh and new, but you get a new brain. And when you get a new brain, you don't remember a damn thing. Everything is blotted out. All your memories. You see, you have a new brain. Now you can start fresh. You can gain new experiences without the old ones getting in the way of it. And it continues on like that. But once you leave the body, then it's a whole nother matter. Then you assimilate everything that you've ever experienced and learned over the ages throughout all of the lifetimes that you've lived. Then it gets assimilated. So your present life gets assimilated and you have that memory. But that's a different level of awareness. And if there's still more that you have to learn or gather, then again, you take a new incarnation. And this is an old system. You know, it sounded really good to me when I first heard about it. I said, you know, he knows what he's doing. he he figured it out. You know, this is a good system. And, anyone doesn't believe it, it's okay. You don't have to believe it. But if you can think of a better system, then I'd like to hear it. All right. I don't know that I answered every question that you have in your mind. I don't read minds yet. I haven't gotten to that point. So you can tell me whatever you're thinking.
I have a question then, Irwin.
Go ahead.
So when you're go from stone and then to metal, like through the different stages, so stone is around for pretty much forever. So if there's like a rock cliff, would there be many different souls within that, or would it be like one, and then does it leave it when it's gathered enough impressions, or does it have to destroy like our bodies have to?
Well, the thing is, it's all about consciousness. The whole process of the biological evolution, whether you're going through the inanimate stages like stones and metals and other inanimate forms, or whether you're going through the animate forms, beginning with the plants and the and bacteria, and then you get into the animal kingdom, reptile kingdom, bird kingdom, all these kingdoms. They're just that's why it's called evolution. It's to evolve consciousness. When consciousness is fully evolved, then you can take a human form. You cannot have a human form unless you have a full consciousness. It's not a question of how good or bad you are. It's not a question of eat or be eaten. It is a question of consciousness. And the whole evolution is just to evolve consciousness. That's what it's for. And once you have consciousness as a human being, now you have this all these impressions that you gathered to develop the consciousness, which have to be now eliminated, because now you have the consciousness. You don't need these to have everything that built it. So it's like the chicken and the egg. In the egg, it forms its body, the chicken. But once it's fully formed, it wants to get out of it. It doesn't want to go back into it again. It wants to get out. It breaks out and to live its life. So we are in the container of the mind. And that is what evolved our consciousness, where everything that was within the mental stages of the mind. So once you have evolved the consciousness, now you have to get free. And so the mind itself has to go. And that's what Baba did when he had done his Manonash period. That was called the annihilation of the mind. And he set up the system for how people can break out of that container of mind and enjoy their unlimited life rather than being in limitations. So in a nutshell, that's what's happening. And Baba, as the avatar, knows that you're not going to be able to do this on your own. You don't even know anything. So how are you going to do anything? Instead, he comes and he, first of all, does what he's doing this time in this Advent, and he gives us the understanding of what's going on. That's the first step. And then later comes the actual work of breaking out and gaining the experience that he has, you see. So I was thinking, you know, will I like it? Will I like it when I do it? And I looked at Baba and I said, well, he seems to like it. He doesn't seem to be having any problem with it. And he seems to enjoy infinite bliss. Wow, infinite. You know what infinite means? It means no limit. It's a bottomless well of happiness. You can't even imagine what this is. And Baba was telling us, he says, you know, I tell you about bliss, but you have no idea what it is. It is not in your experience. So, but nevertheless, it's there. and it will be experienced. But until then, so an infinite power, unlimited power. Well, if you have unlimited knowledge, which to which nothing can be added or subtracted, as he pointed out, he says he has that knowledge, and with that knowledge, you know how to do anything. So you become infinitely powerful. You're unlimitedly powerful. You can do anything. But what are you going to do anything about? It's not to go back into the dream and to just manipulate the dream, which is what where we pray to God. Oh, please help us get a job. Please help us get money. Please help us get a mate, somebody that will actually like us. You know, I mean, all of these here wishes and wants that you can't do for yourself. So you pray that someone that is capable of doing it will help you. And so all these prayers go up. But that's not what the whole point is. The point is that you should get free. Then you don't need to ask anybody to do anything, because now you become independent. You become completely free of everything. This is the advantage of an avatar and a master, having a master. When you have a real master that is in the state of consciousness that you are aspiring for, they're the only ones that can help you to get there. No one that is not there can do that. Yogis, saints, these people are still on the intermediary path. They themselves need help. But when an avatar comes, he doesn't need help for anything. He's already achieved the goal of self-realization, God realization. He has that whole thing, and he can pass it on to anyone he wants, because he has that ability to do that. Only those that are there can take you there, and no one else. So to find somebody that is actually there and make friends with him, rub shoulders with him, carry out whatever he says, is a great advantage to any individual that aspires for what's real and gets to know about it first. Most people don't even know this, so they're not going to think about it. And those that do know and are told about it, not everybody wants to achieve it or experience it. They just want to do their everyday, daily chores, daily things that they desire, with the hope that the things that they can't get for themselves, that somebody will help them get it. Yeah, so they have that. But to actually look to see the goal and the purpose of life itself and why you're even born, that is for those that are seekers, and the real seekers. They want to know that. But of course, first you got to hear about it, you got to know about it, and then you might be one of the people that seeks it. Boy, did I say a lot of words, that's, I can't, if I counted all the words I said, I can't even count them all. I asked Baba, I said, look, I don't know everybody's mind. You have to tell people whatever they need to hear, what they need to feel about you, because I'm not someone that can do that. I'm just like everybody. Look, I'm like everybody sitting there. It's, I operate through 5 senses of the body, no more. It's just like you do, this is no more. So the advantage that I had was that when I heard about Mayor Baba, I went to see him. I wanted to see this person who says he is the avatar and see for myself whether this is true, what it's true. My mother had asked me when I left to see Baba, she asked me if that I should let her know what I thought after meeting him and being there, if he was what he said. So later I wrote back to her and I told her, I said, listen, Mother, he is everything I assumed him to be, and a lot more. So she was happy with that. Yeah, that was made her happy. That it was it wasn't somebody that's making claims to be advanced and actually they're more out for their own selves in the way of what they can gather from their followers, or they get their egos inflated by making themselves feel like they're much more than what they are. But amongst all those that are not real, which is probably a lot more than the real ones, one must always remember that even though there may be many pretenders, but still there are the real ones too. And not to miss up, not to make the mistake of missing the real one for this because of the false ones. And not all false ones say that they're God realized. They probably don't even know the term, most of them. Instead, they just preach or teach or, whatever like that. And some are quite honest. They say, I'm a teacher. This is what I read. And now I'm telling you what I read. Well, I'm also doing the same thing, by the way. These are things that Mayor Baba has given me to understand. And I from the books that I've read, plus the times that I was with him. And I'm just passing it on, what he said. And he told me to do that. He said, you can go back now and you can tell others what you experienced when you were here. And I've been doing that, so, but I make no claims to myself to be advanced or to be on any higher level than anybody was or anybody is that I even talk to. But I do have the understandings that he gave me. That much I have. And that's what I can pass on to everybody. Period. Well, now it's your turn. Somebody have another question? I'll answer it. Or if you want to read something or do whatever you do there at the meeting. This is your first meeting. And I'm glad to see it's a cozy meeting. I'm counting 6 people. It is 6 altogether.
6, and then Joe is on the line
There
too.
were 7. Oh, yeah, 6. And then Joe.
Who?
Joe?
Oh, he's on the Zoom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see there's a picture up here, but it's hard to make it out.
Does he have any questions? He loves questions. Really, I'm telling you. Don't feel funny about any of them. Just please.
So, Irwin, when you came back from your first visit with Baba, did you just feel a significant change within yourself, other than what you already
Baba made us feel very natural. He didn't want people coming and feeling other than the way they ordinarily feel. You've got to be your own self. You got to be natural. To answer your question, did I have any other feelings? Well, I didn't really. There was nothing supernatural that occurred, and Baba wasn't wanting to demonstrate his abilities. He wanted you to feel your friendship with him, that that he's like a family member. This is the way he was with me. He had me meeting all the different members of his family and everything, but there was never any doubt that he knew everything. But he did it in such a nice way, in such a way that was so natural for yourself. You see, one of the advantages of the God realized state is that where he would explain that the mind, all of the minds are within his universal mind. Now, there was an incident, it was actually something that happened where this man who claimed to be able to know the thoughts of anyone, he could penetrate into their mind and know their thoughts. So when he was there to see Baba, he was surprised because he said that he would, that when he went to penetrate into Baba's mind too, there was nothing there. It was totally blank. So he asked Baba, how can this be? Your mind is totally blank. There is nothing there. And Baba sort of chuckled and he said, look, he didn't use the word look. I'm just saying that. But, but anyhow, he said, for you to know my universal thoughts, you would have to rise to the necessary mental level, because I don't think with the individual mind as you do. I have the universal mind, which contains the minds of all beings and creatures everywhere. So for you to know my thoughts, you would have to come up to my level of the universal mind. So this is the way he explained it. And then there was also an astrologer. This was a different time. Now, this is what I read, because there were so many stories, you know, you can read them, that came to Baba, this astrologer, and he asked Baba if he believed that the stars guided human destiny, because that's the root belief of astrology, that the stars would guide human destiny. So he asked this to Baba, if he believed that. And Baba told him, if you follow me, I will teach you how to guide the stars. That was his answer. You know, so this is what an avatar is, a perfect master. They're not like us, but they can behave like us. And when they come to the human level, they want to be looked at as the human being that they also are. You know, they can be almighty and all powerful, but at the same time, they are at the human, you know, they're human. When there was a man that asked Baba if he was human, you know, because he hears about him being all knowing, the God state being so powerful. And Baba said, I'm more human than you, you know, so. And really, my experience, to come back to that, was just that. He was very loving and very warm-hearted. You couldn't meet a nicer person, even if you were to question whether he's divine or not. But as far as being a human being, he was so loving and so kind, and very wise in every which way. He was always there to help you and guide you correctly. There was not judging you that you did this wrong or you did something wrong. He wasn't like that. He wanted you to advance, not to dwell on your limitations. And most of all, he wanted you to love him and to obey him, because he said that that would help you the most. You know, to do that, you can do that. And people would find, you know, speaking of his presence, now there was an incident that occurred with my brother Edward when I was in India with Baba at that time. Let me fix this. Yeah. He wanted to go also to be with Baba, but we had problems with our father. He was very demanding and didn't like us to go. So Edward didn't get to go on that first trip. He went later, but not then. And I was with Baba for 2 weeks at that time. And wherever Baba went, he wanted me to be very close, to stay close to him. So I'd ride with him in the car, and you know, wherever he was and wherever he would go. And there were all these other people, they were following him all over the place. But anyhow, I had that opportunity. Now, my brother Edward couldn't go. So one of the first things that Baba asked when I arrived, where is Edward? So I told him that there was a problem, you know, our father wouldn't permit. And he said it would have been better and you would have benefited more had you come together. But he said, now Edward will benefit just the same as you. So, okay, so, like that. And then he asked me at a certain point to send a telegram to Edward, telling him that he would benefit just the same. Well, now when I got back after the 2 weeks, he tells me a story, man. I tell you, this was one amazing story. He said that he would he liked going to the beach and sitting on the beach wall. There's like a wall there. And these children would come up to him and they would embrace him and hold him and hug him. These were not children that he knew. So they were like strange children, but they would come up to him and they would do like that. And he didn't understand, what was really occurring until he got the cable. And when he got the cable that Baba said that he would benefit the same, then he understood that Baba was there with him. Baba is not limited to the physical body. He often said, I'm not this body that you see. He would tell us this many times. Don't mix me up with the body. He would want us to know that we had to try and see him as he really is, not the body, not just the body. Well, anyhow, he got this message, and then he was feeling so much of Baba's presence that Baba was really there with him. And when he would walk, and he was telling me that he would walk in the street and people would turn around and start looking and staring at him. Similar to what would happen when Baba would be traveling about and going, people would do that, they would look at him like that. So while I was with Baba, Baba was with him. And when I got back, then that experience ended for him. He didn't have that then. And then I told him, the things that happened. So, Baba's present. One last thing that I just thought of. When I first heard about Baba, this is before I went to see him, I was invited to come to a Baba meeting. And this was in New York. They were having meetings every Monday. So I went to the meeting, and I went with the purpose of finding out where he was, because I had read a book about him and I wanted to go see him. But anyhow, at the meeting, I began to feel this. I'm trying to think what happened at that time. To put it in some words. Well, I'll just use the words I can. I began to feel such a strong presence of Baba, and it was unquestionably about him. And what were they doing? They were just reading some discourses of Mayor Baba. It was a Baba meeting. So for an hour, the meeting would last. And they were reading this, and I'm feeling this so strong, and it keeps getting stronger and stronger. It got so strong, I thought that I would actually physically see Baba just suddenly appear. That's how strong that presence was. And when I left the meeting, they wanted to go to a coffee shop where we would talk and sit down and talk together. And I remember Adele was there. You may not know who she is, but she was there. So I said to her, I said, I can't understand why there aren't more people here. There's because I was thinking that everybody had that experience. You see, I didn't realize that wasn't what was happening. But when she answered me, she says, oh, yes, it was very nice. So then I immediately understood. She didn't have any idea of what I was talking about. And then I realized it was something personal, that Baba apparently wanted me to get the conviction that for who he is, that this was for real. And so that was the one time that I had that. It never occurred in any other meeting, but not like that. I mean, we feel his atmosphere. You come to the center here, you feel his atmosphere because he was here and he did various things. And there's the lagoon cabin where he had the private meetings, and the barn where he met everybody as a group, and all the things that he did when he was here. But what? He's looking at anyhow. So you'll feel what you feel. It's not to say that everybody has the same experience. Other people have different experiences of all kinds, and Baba doesn't need anybody to bring them close to him. He even went so far as to say no one even hears his name unless it's his wish, his will. So already if you're hearing about it, that there's something there for you that was in his mind that was very important for you. So there you have it. So, okay, when this happened, it was the one time I had a really intense experience, which I remember now, that happened at that time. And yes, I would say it gives you the conviction that, I mean, you have something like that happen, it's going to make you think about it, that this is not happening from any other person. Period. Hey, I
So Irwin, in the Master's Prayer, he talks about there being beyond three worlds. I don't know what three worlds means. Do you?
Yes, that's the gross, subtle, and mental worlds.
Yeah.
The worlds of the gross is the worlds of matter. The worlds of subtle is the worlds of energy. And this is a life force energy, not like electricity, you might say. But all the other energies, that's the root energy. And then there's the mental world of all the thoughts and feelings that is stored in the mind, and the experiences of the mind, the desires, the passions, all of that is in the mental world. So these are the three worlds. And each of these worlds, we do not experience anything except through the senses that we have, of which we see the gross world. But when you enter into the subtle realm, it's much vaster, and there's so much more that abilities that you gain that would be considered miraculous here. And because you have such control of energy, and through the senses of the subtle body, because you also have a subtle body as well as a physical body, and you have a mental body also, but you're not experiencing these bodies directly, but in those realms you do. So that's how you experience the worlds, is through the medium of your body that you have in it. Now, Baba was saying that it's all illusion anyhow, it's just imagination, because the mind, the universal mind, creates all of this, and you get absorbed by it and you get lost in it. But at the same time, that is what is considered the spiritual path. It is the journey through the higher stages of consciousness, through these three worlds, which Baba has categorized them as into worlds like that. But the subtle world and the mental world are very real, and you have a subtle and mental body as well, but you don't use it. You're only using your gross body now, so you see the gross world. That's the three worlds that he talks about. And that prayer is very interesting, because in that prayer, the Master's Prayer, you're not asking for anything. It's not a prayer where you want something. It is a prayer describing what God is and what you will ultimately experience. So when you read that prayer, you're going to read it with that thought in mind. O Pavadi God, the preserver and protector of all. Can you imagine yourself as that? I can't. I mean, it's almost impossible. We can't even think. We're thinking someone else. Oh, there's a God out there somewhere. He experiences that. Well, the God state of consciousness is in all of us, but we don't experience it. Okay, so, it sounds like it's someone else. But Baba is saying that is what he experiences. When you read that prayer, you're reading what his experience is. And he's telling everybody that. So the prayer really is that you should realize this and abide by the words of the masters, what he says, so that you can achieve that goal, that it becomes a goal for you to achieve. And you do it according to the way, the way that he makes available for you. You can always speak to him. People wonder, oh, well, he's not here in his physical form, so how are you going to talk to him? You don't need his physical form. The mind is everywhere. You can direct your thoughts to him. You can picture him and direct your thoughts. He picks it up. It's not bound. It's not limited like we have in this world. We see each other separately, but he's not. It's not like that in the mental world. There is no barriers. When I left one day from Baba, he told me before I left, he said, distance means nothing to me. Time and space are no barriers for me. I'll be with you wherever you are. So he's with me wherever I am. You see, the present, your presence and his presence are the same presence, but you're not conscious of your entire presence. You're conscious, but you do have a sense of presence just the same. However, it may be small as it is, but that presence can expand into the universal presence. That's how I see it. Now, consciousness, the same thing. There's one consciousness. There's not individual consciousness. There's only one consciousness, but because each individual has their own mental structure and mental mind, so that consciousness views whatever the mind is, whatever the mind shows it. So each of us have a mind, and we each divide ourselves into individuals because we're all because that consciousness is experiencing you and your mentality, and this mentality and that. So you can divide yourself up into different individuals and feel your own individuality that way. But the fact is that when you go behind the mind, then you see there's one consciousness for everyone. You've heard the statement, God is one. One,
Yes.
not two. Not two. He's not two gods. He's one. One God, one consciousness, one experience of self-realization. When you experience yourself for what you really are, it's like a drop falling into the ocean. It loses its limited self and becomes the whole ocean. Each and every drop becomes the whole ocean. It doesn't become a piece of ocean. It becomes the whole thing. So when your drop consciousness is touched by the unlimited consciousness that you are, you become that. You're already that, but you're not aware of it. You see. So all right, it's all a journey in awareness. When they say, well, what's the journey all about? It's a journey in consciousness. You have to experience what there is. That's why they say you need to know the truth. But the truth isn't somebody talking to you and telling you some story and saying that's true or false. It has nothing to do with the truth. The truth is knowing everything as it is. And when you have that experience of everything as it is, then you know the truth, you see. I wrote a circular. It was about the two kinds of truth. I said, there's two kinds of truth. You've always heard there is only one truth. I'm saying there's two kinds. One is the truth that is permanent, does not pass. And then there's the truth of the passing. The passing is what we experience. Everything passes. But the truth that is permanent, which does not pass, is where you really want to go. And you say, well, when will this be? That's another good one. It's going to be now, because only now exists. There is no other past. You can remember things of the past. You can anticipate and imagine things of the future. It's all imagination, one way or the other, memory or imagining the future. But it all happens in the now. So whatever there is, the only real moment is now. It's the now. That is the real moment. So I'll tell you this. I was very impatient when I met Baba. I wanted him to show me God now. I wanted him to do it. And Baba told me many great things about that, but nevertheless, this is I was so impatient about it. So I was demanding that Baba tell me when this is going to happen. So he said in 6 months. So 6 months happened many years ago. 6 months is still not up. But the fact of the matter is that later on I was thinking about it. And I said, time is different for him. Time is real for him. So when it happens, it's going to be now. I wanted it to be now when he would do that, not in 6 months. But when it does happen, it'll be now, because it's the only moment that exists is now. I hope I'm not talking over the head and over the clouds of anybody. But anyhow, that's the way I see it. Next. Instead of period, I say next. It works.
I had a question. So the 5 perfect masters are the ones that sort of bring down the avatar, according to the book. And the 5 perfect masters, it says that there's different 5 perfect masters for each age. Is it the same consciousness of those 5, or is it different consciousnesses that come in as perfect masters?
Well, this is a very interesting question that you're posing. The 5 perfect masters, as far as being individuals, are different. When one passes away, another one takes its place. These are people that gain God realization. But the thing to know about it is that when you gain God realization, it is the same for whoever does. You have the same realization of God that Baba has, that any of the perfect masters have. The only difference between perfect masters is not in their conscious state, but in their duty, in what their function is. Perfect masters have a specific function, and they carry out the plan that the avatar establishes after they bring him down, because that's part of the work that he does. He establishes the plan as to what's to be in the future for humanity, for the whole universe, actually. But then it's only the duty within the framework of the mind that everybody has that is different. But as far as their conscious state, they're in the state of infinite bliss, power, knowledge, and love. It's all there. It's the same for everybody. Whenever you realize, if you realize God, you're going to see that there was only one self behind the bodies and minds of all beings. This is hard to imagine, to think of yourself as being the one self behind everybody, all the bodies and minds of all beings. But that's the Unitarian existence of the God state, not our state of multiplicity, where we see ourselves as separate individuals. You see, so trying to just even imagine what a God realized person experiences, and that this will be your experience one day, is an amazing feat if you can even do that, just to even imagine it, you know. But we do have imaginations, so you can try, you know, it's no harm in trying.
6 months.
6 months.
6 more months.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
It's the duty that they have as perfect masters that is different for each one. But the experience of their conscious experience of God's state is the same for them all.
So Irwin, did you ever meet one of the perfect masters?
I might have, and I say I might because I can't be 100% sure. There was, if I did, it was not knowing about that exactly. There was a man. You see, before I had come to see Baba, but I had not heard about him, and I was wanting to see him. There was a man that had a bookstore, and I went to the bookstore to find some book that I was looking for, and he so he opened a book, and I was looking into a book, and I began to feel bliss. You know, I never felt bliss. And bliss, by the way, has knowledge in it, and I never associated knowledge with bliss, even though it was new to me. But still, it had a lot of knowledge in it, and I was actually feeling this. And then I realized that this was not something coming from me. Somebody was doing this. And I see he's looking in this fellow's looking in the book. And then he asked me what I wanted. We started a little conversation. And eventually he told me that he was a master, and that he had the God state consciousness. I mean, he didn't put it that way, but that's the way it was evolving in our conversation. And it looked to me like he wanted me to be associated with him. That bookstore was just a structure, you know, to get us to meet and be together. He could have been a master. He could have been a master. I don't know, but he did say that he was on the seventh plane, that he was God realized. This was later on. He started to tell me about that, but maybe it was. Now, Baba did tell me this when I was with him, that I was sent to him by another master. Now, whether this was a master in this life or some past life, or somebody that was just guiding me, because before I knew of Baba, for 3 years, I felt that I was really inwardly being guided in many different ways. And it was very clear to me that that was happening. But that was before I actually knew of Baba. And then I came to know about him. And then that experience went away once Baba began to take over his directing me. And because for 10 years, I was being guided and directed, and with Edward and the others in our family. Baba was the center point of everything. If, whether I was visiting him or whether we were away through communications of letters and telegrams and all like that. So there was a lot of connection going on all the time between all of us. So guidance is very important because you don't know anything. See, what do we know? We don't know about the spiritual path, about how you evolve and everything. I mean, we hear about it, but we don't actually experience all of these things. But we hear about it, and hearing about it does help, because let me tell you, if you don't know what the goals are, your life doesn't seem to have purpose. And, I mean, it may have random purpose just between family and a few things that you do in your career and whatever, but it's not really, but you don't have the purpose of why you were born in the first place, or what was to come afterwards. And as a result, a lot of people get lost, and they even commit suicide because they don't know that their life is worth anything, or things didn't go right for them, or something happens. So there's that. But when you have this direction going on, none of that affects you. It's now you have a course, you have a purpose. When Baba left his physical body, I felt that I was a man that was put on a track like a train, and you just go where the track goes. It was all set, whatever was going to be is now going to be. And all I had to do was just keep my eye on the ball, as they say. And Baba was the ball. So you all hearing about this. Some of you hearing it new, some of you known about it for a while. It's all the same thing. This will be a change of course of life itself. Hearing about a master and an avatar is no small thing. This is a big deal, and it's life altering. That's what it is. You read this book, the Silent Master book, which I compiled. I'm not in it. This is all Meher Baba's life. It was sent to him in 1967, 2 years before he passed away. So he had lived his life, and these were the highlights of his life. And every word in that book is his own quotes. Is it just quotes of his? This is what happened. This is what he said. This is what occurred. So you're getting it fresh from him, and not an interpretation by me or anyone else. I always like to go to the source. One of the first things that happened to me when I first, as I said, felt inwardly guided. But it all started. I went to see this movie, The 10 Commandments. It came out at that time. And I was more interested to see it because of the special effects, the parting of the sea, and all the other magical things that was supposed to have happened according to the Bible. But when I was in there and I came out of the theater, that's when it began. Then it all of a sudden occurred to me, does God really exist? And if so, what am I supposed to do? And that's when it started. And the first thing that was given to me to do, it's like you have to do. You don't just get things in your mind and don't do. You do. And the first thing that there was that I should read what the founders of the world, of all the world religions, had to say, but not their followers. That was what I had to do. So I picked up and I read the 5 books of Moses. Then I read the 4 Gospels of Jesus, and I read the Quran of Muhammad, and I read the things that Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path that Buddha spoke of. And in reading all of this, it was quite evident that they were all basically saying the same thing in principle, although there were many after their life, most of everything became ritualized, and they had rituals and ceremonials and differences in the way they practice things. But the truth of the matter is that when you read what they said, it was practically the same thing, that there was a universal being and that you had to get there. And the disciples of these people, of these masters, were to bring them into that level. And then the rest of the world that couldn't feel that they could do that, they were given a code of behavior, how to behave, not to hurt each other, basically. If you want to boil it all out, that's what it was. Don't hurt each other, and try to be kind and loving to each other as much as you can. That was the code of life for everybody, because karmically, you get what you give. If you give good things, that's what will come back to you. You give bad things, that'll come back eventually. And if it doesn't happen in one life, it'll happen in another. Everything is balanced out. So these things were all being shown to me, at that time before I even heard about Baba. So when I heard about him, and you read the 10 ways of loving God, I don't know if you ever saw that. You'll see that the whole thing, all these things that were said by these advents of the avatar, all the same thing. And why is it the same thing? Because it's the same one coming each time, but he gives it to the mentality of the people at the time. Whatever your mentality is, that's what he can share with you. So they were given what they needed, but to his own disciples and such, they were given more esoteric things, the things that Baba is revealing now to the whole world, because the world is ready for this. That book, God Speaks. Wow, what a book. They say, did Baba break his silence? And then there's a book called God Speaks. There's so many ways you can look at the thing, but the point is what's being said and how it feels and what these thoughts are and what it means to you. This is all the important part, This reminds me when Baba asked if he should say something or we should all sit in silence. In my mind, I was sitting right next to him at the time. There was maybe 200 people in the room. And I thought, I'm not good at silence. Maybe he should say something. And he did. He told us certain things. I can't remember now what it was. But love was very important. Baba was all about love. If you ever want to say anything as to what it was with Baba, it was all about love. He was the most loving person. And he would say that if you want God, God won't listen to anything except your heart. If you speak with your heart, that'll listen. He'll hear this. That's what he hears. Women are good at that, you see. They know more about love than men. But it doesn't matter. You get to incarnate both ways. These incarnations that you have, sometimes male, sometimes female, you have to have it all. you know. How long is the meeting supposed to go for?
For an hour. What's,
Oh, well,
over.
I think we've
Do
been
you have any last questions?
going for an hour.
Nothing? Dear, when I have a question that I heard, I was listening to a couple guys talk about spirituality and everything. And the one guy said that, well, when you start getting on this path, you get so lost in the path that the only thing that's important is God and this and that. And the other guy was saying, no, that's not balanced. And the one guy was trying to act like, you're gonna forget about your wife, you're gonna forget about your children, you're gonna forget about being married and not enjoying the things that we're also here to enjoy.
Listen, if you want to forget all that, all you got to do is drop dead. And then you'll forget about it. There's no big deal in this. But if you want to join a master, you don't have to outwardly give up. It doesn't mean to give up things. It's just you're giving up your attachments, essentially. You can carry out all your duties, your responsibilities. Baba did say to do that. But just to keep remembering that he comes first and you do what he says. And if you can do that, then it's the same as having given it up.
Hmm.
You know. God is love. That's it. You understand love, you'll understand that. It's 9 o'clock.
Okay. Irwin, you have no last questions, anybody? Thank you very much, Irwin. I know we all appreciate it very much. You taking the time and sharing Baba's love and presence and everything with us. And getting us to think a little bit more about, like you said, the purpose of our own life. Why we were
Well,
born.
if it has a meaning to all of you there and hearing maybe for the first time things of this sort, then that is to what benefits you, what makes you get a perspective of why you're here in the first place. See, I'm no different. It's the same thing that I had to experience. Why, all of this. I never had spiritual interests when I was a kid. I just did all the kid things. I'd like to go to the swimming pool and I like to do all the other things, whatever a kid does. But then as I got older, maybe I was around 18, then things started to change. And I started to get a better consciousness of what I'm all about. Everybody comes into this world as just, you're a blank. What am I doing here? It's a big world. How did I get here? And that's what happens, but then you find out. All right. Well, anyhow, glad I could share a few things with all of you.
Well, thank you, Irwin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Irwin.
And say hello to all of us.
Baba.
Yeah.